Hi there. I'm Dr. Mark Ellis. I turned 60 not too long ago, and after more than 3 decades in medicine, most of them spent working with older adults, I've learned something that textbooks rarely teach. Aging doesn't steal your strength overnight. It takes it quietly, inch by inch. But what if I told you there's a way to take it back, bit by bit? Today, I want to have a conversation with you, not as a doctor preaching from a podium, but as a fellow traveler on the road of life. Maybe a little ahead of you in years, maybe not. But I'm here to offer you something valuable, a way to feel more like yourself again. Let's start with a simple moment. Picture this. It's a quiet morning. You're seated in your favorite chair. The sunlight's warming your feet through the window. You reach for your cup of tea and start to rise, but your legs feel heavy. You press your palms against the chair's arms for support. Your knees are stiff. Your back doesn't want to cooperate, and suddenly standing up isn't something you just do. It's something you have to think about. Has that ever happened to you? If it has, let me say this clearly, that's not because you're lazy. It's not even just part of aging. It's because your body has started to lose something essential, something we call muscle mass, or more precisely, strength independence. And when muscle fades, so does freedom. You don't see it, but you feel it. I had a patient, George. He was 73 when he walked into my office. A retired PE teacher. He used to climb hills every summer. And yet he sat across from me, looked down at his hands, and said, "Doc, I can't walk around the park without needing to sit down. I don't get it. I used to be strong." I looked at George and asked, "When's the last time you refueled your muscles?" He blinked. "I eat fine," he said. "I don't think I'm missing anything." But what George didn't know, and what so many people don't know, is that muscle doesn't just run on protein. It runs on energy reserves, and one of the most important is a molecule called creatine. And after age 60, your body simply stops making as much of it. So, what is creatine? You may have heard the word creatine and instantly thought of bodybuilders and gym supplements. But here's the truth. Creatine is a natural compound your body makes and uses every single day. It acts like a backup battery for your muscles and brain. It helps your cells recharge quickly when they need energy most. Now here's the catch. As you age, your ability to produce and store creatine decreases. So even if you eat a healthy diet, your muscles might still be running on half a tank. That's why I say, creatine isn't about turning you into a weightlifter. It's about giving you back the energy to move through life confidently. One woman's journey back to confidence. Let me tell you about Linda. Linda was 68 when she came to see me. Her husband had passed away a few years prior. She lived alone. And though she never said it out loud, I could sense a deep fear underneath her words. "I'm afraid to walk to the kitchen. I'm scared I'll slip and won't be able to get up." She wasn't looking to feel young. She just wanted to feel safe in her own body again. We didn't start with weights or fancy routines. We started with one small scoop of creatine in her morning coffee. Then we added something called a chair squat, where you stand up from a chair and sit back down slowly and with control. 5 reps a day, then 10, then 15. 3 weeks later, Linda called me giddy. "Doctor Ellis," she said, "I walked up 2 flights of stairs without holding the railing. First time in 4 years. And you know what? She didn't need to be 30 again. She just needed to feel like she was still in control. Muscle isn't just about strength. It's about dignity. See, we think of muscle as something tied to appearance or to fitness. But to me, muscle is dignity. Muscle is what lets you rise from bed without needing help. It's what lets you carry groceries, play with your grandkids, or pick up the phone without dropping it. And when you begin to lose that, when your body no longer feels like yours, it's more than just inconvenient. It's painful. emotionally. That's why I tell my patients, we're not here to chase youth, we're here to protect your independence. And creatine, it's one of the safest, simplest ways to support that. The first step. Just a scoop and a commitment. If you're wondering where to start, I'll say this. Don't overhaul your diet. Don't sign up for a boot camp. Don't try to do it all at once. Just add 1 scoop of creatine to your daily routine. Mix it into your coffee, tea, water, or yogurt. That's it. And when you take that step, you're doing more than just feeding your muscles. You're sending a message to your body. I'm still here, I still care. Because it's never too late to come back to yourself. Let me ask you, have you ever felt like your strength is slipping away? Have you stood up slower than usual and wondered why it felt harder? Have you longed for just a little more stability without the fear of falling? If so, you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not out of options. Muscle can rebuild, confidence can return, and yes, freedom can be restored. Creatine isn't a trend, it's a quiet helper. I'm not here to sell you a miracle. I'm here to remind you, your body already knows how to heal if you give it the right tools. Creatine is just that, a tool, a quiet helper. A steady companion. You may not feel it on day one, but give it time. As you continue to move, stretch, and show up for yourself, creatine will be there, fueling every step. And before long, you'll feel it, the ease in your knees. The power in your step, the quiet return of faith in your own body. And that, my friend, is freedom. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you did something just for you? Not for your kids, not for your spouse, not because you had to, but simply because you matter. For a lot of people past the age of 60, that question feels harder than it should. The chair, the mug, the moment. Picture this, it's morning. You're standing in the kitchen, maybe still in your robe, the kettle's bubbling. You pour yourself a warm mug of tea or coffee. The room is quiet. And then, just as you reach for your spoon, you pause and think, what if I added something today, not something for energy, not something trendy? Just a quiet little boost. That's where it begins. 1 small scoop of creatine. No noise, no dramatic change. But make no mistake, that scoop isn't just about muscle, it's about a message. A message to yourself that says, I'm still taking care of me. We do talk enough about the caregivers. A woman once sat across from me, 74 years old, silver hair neatly tucked behind her ears. Her hands trembled slightly, not from illness, but from years of pouring herself out for others. She'd lost her husband 6 years ago. Since then, her days were filled with cooking, looking after grandchildren, answering phone calls, holding it all together. I asked her gently, when was the last time you did something just for yourself? She looked down at her hands, smiled sadly, and said, I don't remember, doctor. That broke my heart a little. But also, it gave us a starting point. We didn't begin with exercise routines or supplements or goals. We began with a scoop of creatine, not because it was magic, but because it was an invitation to care again. A gentle start. I remember Roy, a former firefighter, tough as nails, 67 years old. He looked at me with suspicion when I brought up creatine. That powdery stuff, I don't believe in gimmicks. Fair enough, so I said, Roy, I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm asking you to try 1 small scoop every morning in your tea. That's it, just 14 days. He grumbled but agreed. 2 weeks later, Roy returned, same face. But this time, something was different. He didn't say much, just walked in, sat down, and said, Doc, I got out of my chair yesterday without pushing on the armrests. That may not sound like a big deal, but for Roy, that was a milestone. It meant something was changing, quietly, gradually. His body was remembering what strength felt like. Self-care doesn't have to be a chore. So many people over 60 carry around this guilt. This idea that unless they're doing something big or impressive, it doesn't count. But I want to tell you, self-care can be gentle, it can be simple. And yes, it can be small. A scoop of creatine stirred into your morning drink. 5 sit-and-stands before lunch, a glass of water before bed. These are not radical things, but repeated daily, they create a rhythm. And in that rhythm, something beautiful happens. Your body begins to trust you again. Why creatine? Let's be honest. You don't need another miracle cure. You don't want another expensive vitamin. You just want something that works quietly in the background, supporting your body like a good pair of shoes or a favorite walking stick. That's creatine. It doesn't spike your blood sugar. It doesn't interact with most medications. It doesn't have a flavor. And it doesn't require any complicated plan. All it asks is that you show up consistently, a scoop a day. And patience. The science is simple. 3-5 grams a day is safe, effective, and enough to help your muscles stay fueled and your brain stay sharper, especially as you age. But doctor, I don't feel any different. That's something I hear a lot, especially in the first week. And I always respond with this. You don't feel different after brushing your teeth, do you? But you keep brushing. Same principle. Health doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it tiptoes back into your life, through steadier legs, clearer mornings, or the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've taken care of yourself. You are worth the effort. Let me say this plainly, you are not a burden. You are not too old to matter. Your muscles may not respond like they did at 30. Your energy may come in waves, but every single part of you is still worthy of nourishment. And that one small scoop of creatine each day. That's not just about biceps or brain fog. That's about showing up for yourself. Even when no one's watching, even when you don't see instant results, even when it feels silly. Because it's not silly, it's sacred. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you took care of yourself without guilt? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, it's too late to change anything now? What if the smallest, simplest act, done every day, could make you feel more steady, more clear, more you? Wouldn't that be worth a try? Don't wait for perfect. You don't need the perfect routine. You don't need the perfect body. You don't need. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why? Or maybe you're telling a story and right in the middle, you blank on a name you've known your whole life. It's not just frustrating, is it? It's unsettling. Like a part of you has slipped into the fog, even for just a moment. Now, let me tell you something important. That doesn't mean your brain is broken. It doesn't mean you're losing yourself. It might just mean your brain is running low on energy. Brains need fuel, even more than muscles. You've heard me talk a lot about creatine and muscles, but what most people don't realize is this. Your brain runs on the same energy your muscles do. The same molecule, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, that powers your legs when you climb stairs, also fuels your memory, your focus, your ability to string thoughts together. When you're tired, when you haven't slept well, when stress piles up, your brain burns through energy fast. And here's the kicker. Your brain doesn't store energy very well. It needs to recharge constantly. That's where creatine comes in. A backup battery for your brain. Only about 5% of the creatine in your body lives in your brain. That might sound small, but don't let the number fool you. That little stash acts like a backup battery. It steps in when your mental energy dips, restoring balance, sharpening your thoughts, keeping your memory from unraveling. A large meta-analysis, basically a super study that looks at many studies together, found that creatine supplementation significantly improves short-term memory and mental processing speed in adults over 60. especially for people who eat less meat, follow vegetarian or low-protein diets, or have lost muscle mass due to aging. You see, creatine isn't just for athletes, it's for thinkers too. Richard's story, the fog lifting. I once worked with a man named Richard. He was 72, a retired painter, brilliant with colors, known for his watercolors that felt like poetry in motion. But one day he told me, "Doc, I sit at the canvas and forget what color I was about to use. My hands are steady, but my mind, it skips." He wasn't in cognitive decline, not officially, but he knew something was off. And more than that, he felt like he was slipping away from himself. He also happened to be mostly vegetarian. His diet was clean, plant-based, and heart-healthy, but low in creatine. We started small. 3 grams of creatine monohydrate per day stirred into water. That's all. No drastic changes, just consistency. After 3 weeks, Richard came back and handed me a painting, unfinished but alive with color. He said quietly, "I don't know if it's the creatine, but I feel like I can see again. Not just with my eyes, with my mind." That to me is everything. This isn't magic, it's biology. I'll be the first to say, creatine is not a cure for dementia. It's not a miracle drug. It won't reverse Alzheimer's. But what it can do, reliably, gently, and safely, is give your brain a better shot at feeling alert, connected, and resilient. Because the truth is, many older adults have lower creatine levels in the brain. And when you give the brain what it's quietly been craving, it responds. You may not notice a massive shift overnight, but you may find yourself recalling words faster, following conversations more easily, feeling less foggy after a poor night's sleep, staying focused longer while reading or enjoying a hobby. Those aren't just minor improvements. They're quality of life coming back. But doctor, it's probably just in my head. I hear that a lot. People take creatine for a few weeks, then sheepishly admit, maybe it's placebo, but I feel better. To which I always say, good, whether it's biological or psychological. If you feel more like yourself, that's a win. But the science backs it up. Creatine supports cognitive processing. It buffers energy under stress. It may even reduce risk factors for age-related cognitive decline, though research is still ongoing. This isn't fluff. It's physiology. Let's talk real-life moments. What would it mean to you if you could? Finish a crossword puzzle without giving up halfway? Remember a neighbor's name at the mailbox without hesitation? Stay sharp enough to tell a long story without losing your place? These aren't grand accomplishments, but they anchor you in who you are. And as someone who's worked with thousands of older adults, let me say this clearly. Your identity doesn't fade with age, but it does need energy to stay rooted. That's what creatine can help provide. Creatine is not a stimulant. Unlike caffeine, creatine doesn't give you a buzz. It won't make your heart race. It won't leave you crashing after the effect wears off. What it does is subtler, more stable. It rebuilds your reserves, replenishes what your cells need, supports your clarity quietly. Clara's journal. Let me tell you about Clara, 78 years old, living alone, soft-spoken. She had a fall the year before and was slowly regaining strength. But more than the physical setbacks, it was the mental ones that troubled her most. "I just can't focus," she said. "I used to write in my journal every night, but now I forget what I wanted to write about." We added creatine. Low dose daily. She also started chair squats in the morning, just 5 reps. 6 weeks later, she walked into my office with a spiral notebook in her bag. "I've been journaling again," she said. "Not every day, but enough." And then she handed me a page she'd written, where she described how it felt to have words come back to her, like birds returning to a tree after a long winter. I'll never forget that. This is about more than memory. When your brain feels clear, you feel capable. When you feel capable, you try more things. When you try more things, you stay engaged. It's a beautiful loop. And all of that can begin with a scoop of creatine and a decision to move again. Not aggressively, not perfectly, just regularly, final thoughts. If you've been feeling foggy, forgetful, or just a little off, I want to start today with a gentle truth. Most people who start using creatine for the first time expect too much from it. They expect fireworks. They expect fast transformations. They expect to feel 30 again. And when that doesn't happen, they say, "It didn't work for me." But here's what I've learned. After working with thousands of older adults, creatine is not a miracle, it's a companion. A steady, quiet companion on your journey towards strength, stability, and clarity. Let me explain. "Doc, I took it. I still feel weak." Arthur was 76, a retired mechanical engineer. Precise, analytical, and a little skeptical. He walked into my office and said, "I've been taking creatine for a week. I still can't carry a 5-liter jug, so what's the point?" I smiled because I've heard this before, many times. So I asked, "Arthur, what else are you doing?" He blinked. "What do you mean?" "Well," I said, "are you doing any resistance training? Are you sending your muscles the message that you still need them?" He shrugged. "Not really. I figured the supplement would do the job." And there it is, the common misunderstanding. Creatine doesn't build muscle, you do. Here's the science. Creatine doesn't create muscle on its own. What it does is fuel the recovery and growth of muscle when your body asks for it. And how does your body ask for it? Through movement, through resistance, through gentle effort repeated over time. So think of it like this. Your muscles equals the house. Exercise equals the blueprint telling your body what to fix. Creatine equals the worker delivering the bricks and mortar. If you never pick up a tool, no message gets sent. No repair order is filed. And creatine just waits quietly, unused, unneeded. The power of partnership, exercise plus creatine. You don't need to become a gym rat. You don't need dumbbells or fancy equipment. You just need to move, consistently. Squats from your favorite chair, wall push-ups in the hallway, light curls with a water bottle, stretching your arms while brushing your teeth. These are signals. They tell your body, "Hey, I'm still here. I still need these muscles." And when creatine shows up, it hears the message and gets to work. Healing isn't an event, it's a relationship. Let's shift how we think about health, not as a pill, not as a quick fix, but as a relationship between you and your body. You feed it, you move it, you rest it, and in return, it supports you in ways you may not even notice until something goes wrong. Creatine in that picture is like a quiet friend who shows up every day with supplies, just in case you're ready to build something stronger. It doesn't shout, it doesn't show off, it waits. And when you're ready, it helps you rebuild. Why expectations get in the way? I once had a woman tell me, "I thought creatine would make me feel young again. I still feel 72." I chuckled and said, "And what's wrong with feeling 72? What if 72 can still be strong, still be clear, still be upright and moving with confidence?" Too often, we compare ourselves to who we used to be, decades ago. We measure success in terms of regaining youth instead of protecting what still works. And that mindset, it gets in the way. You're not failing because creatine doesn't turn back the clock. You're succeeding every time you take a step toward feeling like yourself again, now, today. "But I don't exercise much." That's okay. Most people over 60 don't exercise like they did in their 40s. Joint pain, stiffness, low energy, fear of falling, it's all real. But that's exactly why small movements matter more than ever. Think of them as gentle signals. Even 5 minutes of resistance training, 3 days a week, can make a difference. And with creatine supporting recovery, you might find it easier to move again the next day. And the next, Roy's revelation. Remember Roy from Part 2, the former firefighter who was skeptical of creatine. Well, after a few weeks of pairing creatine with a basic squat routine, just chair sits, 10 reps in the morning, he came into my office and said something I'll never forget. "I don't know if I'm stronger, Doc, but I'm less scared." That gave me chills, because so much of aging isn't about what you can or can't do physically. It's about how you feel about doing it. Confidence. That's the real treasure, and that's what small steps paired with good tools can bring back. Let go of the all-or-nothing mindset. Health isn't binary. It's not you're either fit or you're not. It's a spectrum, a continuum, a long, winding road with lots of on-ramps. And every small action, every chair squat, every scoop of creatine is a step forward, not a leap. A step. And steps, when taken daily, create motion. And motion creates momentum. And momentum, that's what changes lives. Some days will feel slow. Yes, you'll have off days. You'll have mornings when your knees protest or your motivation disappears. But I always tell my patients, don't confuse a pause with a stop. Just because you rest doesn't mean you're done. Creatine doesn't need perfection. Your muscles don't either. They just need presence, a little consistency, a willingness to try again tomorrow. A companion, not a cure. So here's how I think of creatine now. Not as a performance enhancer, not as something flashy, but as a companion. It walks beside you as you age. It gives your muscles the support they need to recover. It fuels your brain when it's tired. It whispers to your body, let's keep going. Not fast, not flawless, but forward, closing thoughts. If you've been waiting for a big sign to get started, this is it. Not because you have to be perfect, but because if you've made it this far with me, you've probably already noticed a theme. I'm not here to sell you a miracle. I'm here to walk beside you, step by step, as you rediscover something that may have been fading quietly. Your strength, your balance, and most of all, your confidence. But here's the catch. You don't get it all back in a day. You earn it back in tiny, often invisible ways. Let's talk about that. One step, one stair, one win at a time. Let me tell you about Evelyn. She was 74. Gentle, soft-spoken, lived alone in a 2-story house. But one day, after slipping slightly in the bathroom, she didn't fall, mind you, just stumbled. Something changed. It wasn't a physical injury, it was something deeper. "I don't trust my legs anymore," she told me. "I avoid the stairs, I sleep downstairs now." We didn't begin with motivation speeches or intense workouts. We started small. 1 scoop of creatine each morning. 5 slow chair squats a day, wall push-ups before dinner. Week 1, no big changes. Week 2, she could stand up a little easier. Week 3, she climbed 3 stairs carefully, breathlessly. Week 4, she called me. "Doctor, I walked up to the 2nd floor yesterday. I hadn't done that in nearly 2 years." I smiled, not because she reached the top, but because she took back something that fear had stolen, her freedom. Your body doesn't need intensity, it needs repetition. I told a patient once, you don't need to do something amazing today, you need to do something again today. That's how the body works, especially after 60. It responds not to the size of your effort, but to the steadiness of it. Brushing your teeth doesn't transform your smile overnight, but doing it twice a day for years, that changes everything. Creatine, movement, hydration, sleep, they all follow the same principle. Small, daily, non-negotiable. Why most people give up too soon. You'd be amazed how many people quit on the verge of a breakthrough. They start taking creatine. They start moving more. Then after a week or two, they say, I don't feel different. I'm still tired. I still forget things. But that's like planting a seed and digging it up every morning to check if it's growing. The truth is, your body is working on it even if you can't see it yet. Healing is slow. Building takes time, and results rarely arrive with a fanfare. They sneak in through the side door. Like when you realize you didn't grab the armrest to stand up, or you walked to the mailbox without holding your breath, or you remembered the name of your neighbor's dog without effort. That's not nothing. That's your body saying, I'm listening. Thank you for showing up. Bernard's quiet triumph. Bernard was 79, a former soldier, a proud, disciplined man who used to run marathons in his 40s. But when he came to me, he sat in silence for a while. Then finally said, I feel like I'm fading, not in a dramatic way, just piece by piece, and no one notices, but I do. We began with something so simple, he almost laughed. A soft rubber ball to squeeze and release each morning. A scoop of creatine with breakfast. A short walk after lunch. No big declarations, no goals. 6 weeks later, he greeted me with a firm handshake. The same hand that had trembled before. He said, I opened a jar of pickles yesterday without help. And then he smiled with a pride I hadn't seen before. Friends, that's what progress looks like. Are you missing the small wins? I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you stood up from the sofa without bracing yourself? Have you walked a little farther recently without even noticing? Did you feel a little clearer this morning without really knowing why? If the answer is yes, even just once, then please listen to me. You're getting better. It's working. You're healing. Don't dismiss that. Don't say it's nothing. That nothing might be the sign you've been waiting for. The difference between decline and recovery, just a few weeks. Let me tell you about 2 women I saw in the same week, both 68 years old. Same diagnosis, mild muscle loss, slight memory issues, general fatigue. One of them shrugged and said, that's aging for you. She did nothing, the other. She added creatine to her tea. She did 5 squats each morning. She walked in the park 3 times a week. 3 months later, she came in walking tall, eyes bright, smile relaxed. Same age, same starting point. Different outcomes because of small, steady action. But I'm not seeing big changes. That's okay. Let me ask you this. Are you seeing any change? Is it easier to bend down and pick something up? Are you less afraid of losing balance on the stairs? Is your head clearer when talking with friends? Then the work is working. Big changes are built from small ones. And I promise you, they're coming. The garden metaphor. I often tell patients that your body is like a garden. It doesn't need perfection, it needs presence. You don't plant a tree and yell at it to grow. You water it, you give it sunlight. You wait, same goes for your body. Water, hydration. Sunlight, sleep and rest. Nutrients, creatine, protein, wholesome food. Movement, your daily signal to grow. And one day, seemingly out of nowhere, something blooms. Wrapping up. If you're feeling discouraged, if you've started and stopped before, let me say this, you don't need to go fast. You just need to keep going. Consistency isn't sexy, it's not glamorous, but it's powerful. I was giving a talk at a local senior center not long ago, nothing fancy, just folding chairs, hot tea, and a room full of folks asking good questions. A woman near the front raised her hand. She looked proud, healthy, confident. Dr. Ellis, she said, I've been vegan for 5 years. My cholesterol is down. I feel lighter, but lately I'm weak and foggy. My legs feel wobbly and I can't think as clearly. Why? I smiled gently and said, you're doing something wonderful for your heart. but your muscles and brain are trying to tell you they're missing something. And that something is creatine, the good news and the gap. Plant-based diets are beautiful. They're great for blood pressure, inflammation, digestion, and long-term disease prevention. I see patients thriving on fewer animal products every day. But here's something I wish every older adult knew. Creatine is only found in animal foods, like beef, pork, chicken, and fish. It doesn't exist in lentils, almonds, kale, or tofu. And after 60, your body's own creatine production naturally slows down. So even if your heart is happy with the switch, your muscles and brain may quietly begin to struggle. That's not your fault. It's just biology. Julie's story, eating right, feeling wrong. Julie was 65 when she came to see me. Fit, light on her feet, ate clean, organic, no meat, no dairy, but lately her energy dipped. She couldn't carry groceries as far, she forgot names more often, lost her footing once or twice. All her labs looked great. Iron B12D all in range. But then we looked at the bigger picture, vegetarian for years. Low muscle mass. No resistance training. No creatine from food. We added just one thing. Creatine monohydrate, 3 grams a day, plus a few daily squats. 4 weeks later, she returned and said something I'll never forget. "Doctor, I walked from the parking lot to the office without stopping once. First time in months." It wasn't about a six-pack. It was about self-sufficiency. You can be green and strong. There's a myth I hear a lot. If I'm eating healthy, I shouldn't need supplements. But let's be honest, you eat well, you hydrate. You avoid ultra-processed junk. You're doing everything right. Still, you might be missing something invisible. If you've cut back on red meat or gone fully plant-based, that's excellent. But it also means you've cut out one of the only natural sources of creatine. That's why I call creatine the missing link for older adults on clean, plant-rich diets. It's not about going back to steak. It's about respecting the body's changing needs. But isn't creatine a bodybuilder's supplement? This is the biggest misconception I hear. A gentleman once told me, "I don't want to bulk up. I just want to walk without a cane." Perfect, because that's what creatine can help with. It's not a steroid. It doesn't change your hormones. It won't make you look like a weightlifter. It simply supports your body's ability to store and use energy more efficiently, especially during movement. That means steadier steps, stronger posture, clearer thinking, and maybe even the confidence to walk through a crowded place without fear of stumbling. What creatine can do for a plant-based body. When combined with a light movement routine, creatine helps. Improve leg strength. Boost mental clarity. Speed up post-exercise recovery. Support balance and coordination. Reduce fatigue after everyday tasks. All of this becomes even more important as your body makes less creatine naturally with age. So if you're eating fewer animal products, or none at all, creatine isn't a luxury. It's a smart, safe way to complete the picture. What you don't need to do. You don't need to change your whole diet. You don't need to go back to eating meat. You don't need to count macros or track calories. You just need 1 scoop of creatine a day. In water, in tea, in your morning smoothie, whatever works for you, 3-5 grams a day. No loading phase needed. No cycling, just consistency. And drink enough water, because creatine draws water into your muscles to do its job. That's not a side effect. That's part of the magic. But it sounds too easy. I know. But sometimes the best solutions are quiet, simple, unassuming, just like healing. You don't hear it happen. You just wake up one day and realize, I feel steadier today. I remembered that word faster. I carried those bags without needing to stop. And you smile, thinking, maybe I haven't lost myself after all. Reclaiming what matters. A man once asked me, if I don't eat meat, will creatine undo all the progress I've made for my heart? Not at all. In fact, it might support your heart by helping you stay mobile, upright, and independent longer. Because here's what matters most after 60. Can you get up from the floor if you fall? Can you carry groceries without hurting your back? Can you walk steadily across uneven pavement? These are not vanity goals. These are quality of life goals, and creatine can help you reach them without compromising your values. You're doing so much right. Don't miss this one thing. I know you're trying. You've cut the sugar, you eat your greens, you meditate. You've said no to fried food and yes to whole grains. You're being thoughtful, responsible, and that's worth celebrating. Now take that same wisdom and apply it to muscle preservation. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you stood in front of the mirror and said, I'm doing enough, not I'm trying, not I should be doing more, but simply, I'm doing enough? For most people past the age of 60, that phrase feels almost foreign. We live in a culture that praises intensity, hard workouts, strict diets, hustle and grind. But if there's one thing I've learned in my decades as a doctor, it's this. After 60, health doesn't respond to extremes. It responds to intelligence. Let me explain what that looks like. The small things that actually matter. I always ask my patients a question during checkups. What made you feel healthiest this week? And you know what the answers never are. I ran 5 miles. I did 100 push-ups. I fasted for 24 hours. Nope, it's things like, I stood up from the couch without help. I cooked dinner without needing to sit down. I walked around the block and didn't feel like collapsing. That's real progress. That's health measured in stability, clarity, and independence. And guess what? Creatine plays a quiet but powerful role in that journey. Let go of the all or nothing mentality. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need to train like a 30-year-old. You don't need to change everything. You just need to make smart decisions consistently. 1 scoop of creatine in your coffee. A few squats in the morning. A short walk after lunch. Sleep, water, patience. That's it. That's a smart foundation, and smart foundations are sustainable. The danger of overwhelm. I don't have time, doc. I hear this all the time, especially from grandparents, caregivers, or folks juggling too much. And I always say, that's why we keep it simple. Roy, one of my longtime patients, was raising his grandson full-time. No time for long workouts. No bandwidth for counting macros. So we did the basics. Creatine every morning in his tea. Wall push-ups while waiting for the kettle. 5 chair squats before bed. Water bottle always in reach. That's all, no gym, no stress. And in 6 weeks he was walking longer, breathing easier. Sleeping deeper, because smart trumps extreme every time. Helen's journey. Helen was 73. She came into my clinic with hunched shoulders and a quiet voice. I just want to be strong enough to carry my groceries, she said. She didn't want abs, she didn't want to run a marathon, she just wanted to feel capable again. So we gave her 1 scoop of creatine. 10 squats a day. No pressure. 3 months later, she told me, I carried 2 bags of groceries today, and I didn't even think about it. That's smart health in action. Effort matched with support. Simplicity paired with consistency. What smart really means. Being smart about health doesn't mean knowing everything. It means knowing what matters most for where you are now. Your 30-year-old body might have craved challenge. Your 50-year-old body might have responded to motivation. But your 70-year-old body, it needs clarity, calm, and consistency. And smart health looks like this. Creatine, to support strength and brain clarity. Movement, to keep your balance and mobility. Hydration, to protect your kidneys and energy. Sleep, to allow your body to rebuild. Compassion, so you don't beat yourself up when you miss a day. None of this is extreme, but all of it is powerful. What if I'm too late? You're not, let me say that again, you are not too late. I've had patients start creatine at 84. And weeks later they were walking steadier, holding conversations longer, feeling more like themselves. Your body is still listening. It still wants to help you. It just needs the right signals and the right support. A steady beats flashy. There's no trophy for being the fastest person at the gym. There's no medal for the most restrictive diet. But there is something more valuable than any trophy. Standing on your own 2 feet. Getting out of bed without pain. Living in your own home safely. Feeling clear-headed at the dinner table. That's the real prize, and that prize, it belongs to those who keep showing up, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. Rewire your definition of success. Success at this age doesn't look like a six-pack. It looks like self-trust. Trust that your legs will carry you. Trust that your thoughts will come clearly. Trust that your body is still working with you, not against you. Creatine isn't the hero of this story. You are. Creatine is just one of your tools, your allies. A quiet assistant in your return to steadiness. Final thought. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. You don't need to do. If there's one thing I've learned after decades of working with people over 60, it's this. It's not what you do once that transforms your health. It's what you repeat. Not perfection, not intensity, repetition. And yes, something as small as standing up and sitting down from a chair can change your life. Let's talk about how movement and creatine work together to help you stay upright, balanced, and strong. Doctor, I can't exercise anymore. I hear that a lot, sometimes with shame, sometimes frustration, sometimes sadness. But here's the truth, you don't need to exercise like you did at 30. You just need to send your muscles a reminder. Hey, I still need you. One of the most powerful reminders, chair squats. That's right, just sitting down and standing up, using your legs, your core, and your balance. Start with 5 a day. That's it. And watch how quickly your body starts listening again. David's comeback. David was 82, a proud man, still sharp, still dignified, but scared of falling. His daughter was pushing him toward assisted living. He wasn't ready. So we started with the basics. 5 chair squats every morning. Creatine stirred into tea. Deep breathing before bed. That was it, no dumbbells, no pressure. 6 weeks later, he came in for his appointment without his cane. His voice trembled as he told me, I got off the couch without grabbing the armrest. It wasn't about standing up. It was about standing for himself again. Micro workouts equals macro results. I like to call these exercise snacks. Tiny bursts of movement sprinkled throughout your day. Chair squats in the morning. Wall push-ups before lunch. Bicep curls with a soup can while watching the news. Marching in place while brushing your teeth. Do them at your pace. No timers, no machines, no mirrors. And if you're using creatine, these movements signal your body to use it. They tell your muscles. Rebuild, strengthen, stay alive. You don't need fancy, you need consistent. One patient once told me, I tried to follow a YouTube workout. They were jumping and lunging. I turned it off in 3 minutes. Of course she did. Most fitness content isn't made for people over 60, especially those recovering from illness, injury, or decades of sedentary living. That's okay. You don't need to move like a fitness instructor. You just need to move like you, consistently, with kindness, and with the quiet help of creatine in the background, fueling your muscles as they relearn how to serve you. Building a new rhythm. Here's what a smart, doable weekly rhythm looks like. 3 to 5 short exercise snacks per week. Creatine every morning, no skipping. A little extra water to stay hydrated. Stretching at bedtime. Gentle walks whenever you can. That's it. You're not auditioning for the Olympics. You're just preserving the strength you've spent a lifetime building. Real people, real wins. One of my favorite stories came from a woman named Muriel. She was 77, lived alone. Made perfect tea, fiercely independent, but she had started avoiding stairs. Her knees were shaky. Her fear of falling was real. We gave her wall push-ups. A scoop of creatine. Light resistance band pulls. After 4 weeks, she didn't call me to say, "I feel amazing." She just said this: "I folded laundry upstairs yesterday." It was the most ordinary thing, and also the most extraordinary, because to her it meant something simple and sacred. I'm not done yet. And what about your brains? Everything we've talked about with movement and creatine. It helps your brain too, because the same ATP your muscles use, your brain uses too. When you move, you signal your body to renew itself. When you take creatine, you give your brain fuel to focus longer, think clearer, and recover from mental fatigue faster. You don't have to feel foggy forever. There's a path back to clarity. And it doesn't require a new pill or a perfect diet, just movement, creatine, and consistency. Let me ask you, when was the last time you felt proud of a small win? When did you last notice your body saying, "Thank you for a new habit"? What would it feel like to move through your day without fear of falling, forgetting, or failing? You don't need to imagine it. You just need to begin. Health after 60 is a garden. You don't force a flower to bloom, you water it. You give it light. You wait. Some days are rainy, some days are dry, but if you care consistently, the roots grow deeper, and the bloom always comes. Health is no different. Creatine is the water. Movement is the light, your effort, that's the soil, and your strength, it's coming back, slowly, quietly, reliably. A gentle goodbye. If you've made it through this 8-part journey, I hope you feel something stirring in you. Not pressure, not urgency, just possibility. Maybe I'm not done improving. Maybe I still have power. Maybe there's more ahead. There is, and it begins, like most good things, with something small. A scoop of creatine. A few slow squats. A decision to keep caring for your body, your mind, your life. I'm Dr. Mark Ellis. Thank you for trusting me to walk this path with you. You don't need a perfect plan.